Well, hello there, and welcome to episode 217 of the FlameFlash.net podcast. We're trying something slightly different by hitting the go live button on Twitch rather than just recording in Streamlabs. We'll see how it goes, but it means we're right here available to be chatted with too. What, as usual, what has everybody been gaming this last week? For me, it's still been that D&D session. The last session got pushed back, so we'll be doing that on Tuesday. And otherwise, we played some Mario Party earlier today and some Minecraft earlier today. You successfully got Mordecai, the Headless Horseman mount, the new one.
Yeah.
And the transmog,
the
new transmog,
Yep.
before the holiday ended. So congrats on that. Thank you for doing that.
Yep.
Have not had the time. And I think you've been trying the 100 baby challenge in Sims for the most part.
100 generation challenge.
100 generation challenge. Okay. So, and then otherwise 99 nights in Roblox. Is that your other big one at the moment?
Yeah.
Okay. Not a lot of other gaming going on?
Not really.
Not really? Okay. Well, with that being said, I guess we'll just kind of launch right into politics. The government shutdown is approaching record-breaking. So by November 5th, November 6th, we're going to be in record-breaking, and Trump's first term takes second place to his second term as far as government shutdowns go.
Wow.
Yeah. So late last week, he proposed, when the Senate went home, that the Senate should just do away with the filibuster. This...
what do you mean by that?
So the filibuster is a currently established process in the Senate. It's not constitutional. It is a Senate process rule where certain things need 60 votes in order to close debate and move on to the voting phase. So in the early 1900s, they did this because otherwise debate was just going on forever. And they also didn't want one party to simply railroad through particular laws. The Senate is meant, based on the founders, to be the house of compromise, of working closer, because every state only gets 2 votes. Whereas the House of Representatives, California, Texas, they go big with as many representatives as they have, and they can kind of en masse push. That was kind of the founder expectation. That's why we have the two chambers of Congress. But with President Trump pointing out that the Senate at any time could change the rules of the filibuster, it does squarely lay the government shutdown at Republicans' feet. But if there had been any debate before about, it's the Democrats holding things up, or it's the Republicans holding things up, the Republicans have the option, as they have done in the past, to modify Senate rules to stop the filibuster from happening. So they already have done it for confirming various federal positions that are presidentially appointed. And so now Trump has proposed that they do it for basically anything else. Bring it down to a 51 majority. Now, the Senate Republican lead, that his name is escaping me at the moment, is saying, no, we shouldn't do that because then the Democrats will use that against us later. They're expecting a blue wave. They're expecting to be voted out come 2026. At least in one of the chambers, if not both. Just there's 7 million strong plus that showed up to say, hey, we don't like what's going on during the No Kings protest.
Yeah.
If all of that translates into votes, that's that. That's the blue wave. So there we have it. And this weekend marks the first time in 60 years that SNAP benefits go unfunded. So, like I was saying last week, they had the option of just getting together and voting through something that's continuing to keep some of these things going without a full continuing resolution to punt. And they chose not to. They're choosing not to. But this clearly puts the ownership of the blame on Republicans. Plain and simple. There's about $5 billion set aside that couple of federal judges have said, yeah, the government needs to continue funding SNAP. And the executive branch is like, sure, great, okay, how? Because this is still President Trump, and he would rather host extremely wasteful Halloween parties rather than be back in Washington, D.C. trying to organize his party to vote and accomplish anything. Because seriously, there was a very lavish Halloween party at Mar-a-Lago this weekend. Yeah. So going back to, the No Kings thing, this is very much a kingly, I don't care about these people, I'm in charge, I'm going to go party and use federal money on this kind of thing rather than fund the government or work together. Other members of his cabinet, high-ranking members are doing similar things. Like, I guess the Republican appointed FBI director flew his girlfriend on a private federal jet to him, or vice versa. Yeah, it's getting kind of gross as far as the self-servingness of these individuals. You can't even say these Republicans anymore because they're acting like oligarchs. They're acting like the king's court and the lords and ladies surrounding him. They're not acting like the traditional American politician anymore. It's rather disgusting.
Sounds about right.
42 million Americans are about to go hungry. 42 million. Ziggy, what's the current U.S. population?
The current U.S. population is estimated at 342 million as of July 2025.
So what is 42 million a percentage of the population?
$42 million is about 12.3% of the U.S. population.
Thank you. That's not
You're
a small
welcome.
number, guys. 12%. To put that in perspective, we have 1% of the population that is trans. We have 1% of the population that is theoretically here illegally. It's hard to fully estimate because various laws and rules don't have us count illegal immigrants the same way. But 12%.
I would like to mention that that 1% of trans people could just be the people who actually came out. There could be more.
Very true. Very true. And we have 1% of the population that have enough money that they could be funding SNAP themselves.
Yeah.
And still have millions left over. So these are kids that are going to start suffering. These are families. These are disabled individuals who can't work. These are elderly. These are those in need. Some of the more crazies on the right are going to go, oh, well, this is also going to force people to get jobs. These people are already qualifying for jobs, already have jobs. A percentage of those that are on SNAP benefits already have at least one job, but because the minimum wage hasn't kept up with inflation, they still can't afford to live. Theoretically, I would have to look back at the stats, but theoretically, if the minimum wage kept up with inflation, everybody should be making at least $20 an hour. At least.
Wow.
Exactly. And instead, the minimum wage federally is something like $7.25, $7.50. States can change that or increase it. So I think Minnesota's minimum wage is something like 11 something at this point. But your corporations, your big businesses, rather than paying their people a fair living wage, are greedily just scraping up the profits for themselves. This isn't about socialism. This is about fairness. If I am working 40 hours a week, I should be able to pay for all of my needs. Plus, have just a little bit of money set aside to do something fun.
And also, one moment, I'm spitting at my gum. For the people who would probably say life's not fair, that's not a valid excuse because life can be fair. It's just that no one's actually working for it.
No one's pushing to make life fair. And even then, it's not fairness, it's equity. It's helping people make ends meet. If I'm a individual in a high stress job and I make X amount of dollars more than minimum wage, while somebody else does a low stress job and makes a smaller amount of money over minimum wage, it's still equitable. But the market no longer adjusts for that kind of thing. I'm, for some reason, getting random weird texts from recruiters. I don't know why. And this one was advertising a $25 an hour job, which is about $52,000 a year before taxes. And I don't know why my phone number is on some random headhunter's list, but they're looking for, some kind of skilled worker, knowledgeable worker. It doesn't really say what they're doing or asking for, so it's probably a scam. It's probably a way to try to get my information. Oh well, to start this job up, we also need to have your social security number. Okay, here you go. No, it's too good to be true.
Yeah.
I'm not sure on that math little one, but
Something I saw on TikTok is I don't remember if you already brought this up, but I saw someone on TikTok asking if Trump possibly cut SNAP because he wants riots to
I think I mentioned that last week. Yes, that there's the possibility that he's trying to create a food riot so that he can institute martial law, and then there goes the Constitution. This could be the long game. I don't know. I just don't know.
How does martial law work?
Martial law is basically we lose our constitutional freedoms, and the police come in and go, hey, everybody go to your homes, everybody stay inside, you're not allowed to do X, Y, and Z. That kind of thing. Some would argue that during COVID, we were under a quasi-martial law because everybody was being advised, there's the key word there, advised to stay home, advised to wear masks, not forced. Yes, Siri decided to try to engage again. Bad Siri. No cookie for you. So, yeah. So there is that possibility. You brought up to me the idea of Trump mentioning about doing more nuclear testing.
Yep.
And aside from the environmental negatives that could potentially happen, all this nuclear testing happens underground at this point.
Mhm.
We've gotten smart enough to go, oh, we shouldn't be, spreading this radioactivity out into the atmosphere. But the if we start nuclear testing again, the other countries that want to pursue nuclear weapons are going to start testing again. And right now, we're the leader. We're the technological leader. So if we start testing again, other countries are going to respond and start testing again. And they are going to learn more from their tests than we will from ours, meaning they're going to catch up. And that's a problem. That's why it's bad. That's why it's a bad idea. Not to mention the facility that they would be doing it in is outside of Las Vegas, underground, and the earthquake aftershocks could damage buildings because Las Vegas is bigger now. So while that facility, when the testing happened, it didn't do any damage to buildings at that time, Las Vegas has expanded. So anything on the outskirts of Las Vegas could get damaged now.
That's not great.
No, it's not. It would be earthquakes rather than, say, radioactive fallout or anything, but it would still damage buildings, most likely. Now, the last thing on my bingo card for this week is the fact that the Canadians masterfully. Do you have anything else on that, by the way?
Not really. Just hoping that the doomsday clock doesn't get closer to midnight.
Me too. Me too. So, the Canadians masterfully during the World Series. We don't generally follow sports ball that much.
Right.
But I guess it's the Dodgers versus Blue Jays. And there was a game in Canada. One of the ads was quoting a Ronald Reagan speech and even using Ronald Reagan sound bites to explain how tariffs were bad. And in true king-like fashion, angry king-like fashion, angry baby fashion, he threw a little hissy fit and said that, one, it was a lie, and two, that he was going to slap Canada with a 10% tariff. So Trumpykins had a bit of a temper tantrum over a factually accurate commercial quoting Ronald Reagan and saying why tariffs were bad. If that's not the behavior of an angry monarch, I don't know what is.
Fair.
I'm going to throw a hissy fit. Oh, the jester offended me. Off with his head. Canada has offended me. 10% tariff.
Doesn't that 10% tariff kind of prove their point because he's using it as a punishment?
Yep. It proves their point. It proves their point big time. This is the Ronald Reagan quote was talking about how in the short term tariffs help. But in the long term, they're a bad idea because trade wars happen, prices go up for the average consumer, etc. You know, kind of like what's already happening here.
Yeah.
So Trump's gross again. Being dumb again. But that's basically all my notes. There are those situations where one offers thoughts and prayers when they're powerless to make positive change themselves appropriately. And there are times when those offer thoughts and prayers when things could be changed, like after a school shooting. That's not the time for thoughts and prayers. That's the time to take action to prevent it from happening in the future.
Have we actually taken action? Like, I'm talking about America in general.
No. But what I'm more referencing is that in the situation of 42 million Americans being fearful for their food safety for the next month, all we really can do is offer our thoughts and prayers. 42 million people, that's too much for the food shelves, that's too much for the food banks to recover from usage wise. Some areas don't even have food banks, or they only have food banks that are open once a month or once a week, like our area. The closest town that we buy our groceries in, the food bank there is only open basically once a week. And if you have to work during those hours, you're just screwed. But that's all the resources they have, is to man it once a week and then process deliveries the rest of the week, I guess. I don't know. We've been very, very fortunate in not needing to utilize such services. So this is one of those times where it's appropriate to offer thoughts and prayers, because there's not much else as low middle income family we can do, except hope that, to be crass, the Republicans pull their heads out of their butts and go ahead and fund these subsidies, which are at least doubling healthcare costs for people. But that's why I'm worried that he's setting up the riot scenario. Healthcare costs are doubling for people in this next month, and now SNAP benefits are gone. There's going to be a lot of
Anger.
There's going to be a lot of desperation. Morally and ethically, while I'm not going to encourage stealing, I'm not going to encourage shoplifting, I think it would be morally okay to look away too if somebody is desperate enough to put themselves at risk for legal repercussions, because they're now going to be approaching that point.
They're gonna basically be focusing on instinct more, basically.
The Maslow's hierarchy of needs, food and shelter is at the base. And people need that. And people could have it if we weren't so greedy, especially those at the top, that top 1%. Like, there is a problematic 1%, but it's not the 1% that the politicians generally talk about. Know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not the marginalized 1%. It's the powerful 1%. And I'm not saying they should be violated in any kind of way either. They shouldn't be attacked or anything, but they should be taxed, and taxed fairly. But that's just me. So I am hopeful that cooler heads prevail soon. I am hopeful that the anxiety and fear that so many people must be feeling right now is alleviated soon. And I wish I had better news right now. Like, I guess to end on a marginal amusing note, let's punch upwards. I guess there's some kind of Erica Kirk, JD Vance affair rumor floating around. And I don't really know much about it other than some kind of really, really awkward looking hug. So some people have joked that during the awkward looking hug, she was wearing leather pants, and so maybe he was excited because he thought her pants resembled a leather couch. Because there was the couch joke with JD Vance a while back. But I don't know. It's one of those weird rumor things that I didn't really want to give too much time or energy to. I just didn't want to leave it on the low note that we were in already. So we'll let everybody else, rumor mill and mild amusement that he potentially got caught. But it's so rumor heavy that I was going to ignore it. I just didn't want to close where we were going to close otherwise. You know? Yeah. Still kind of hard to boost spirits.
Yeah.
Yeah. But let's see what the 501st is up to. See if we can't organize a game and distract ourselves. And those of you that want to leave comment, well, podcast at flameflash.net. And Thunderer wants to interject something real fast.
Some businesses don't hire some people because they're part of LGBTQ. Not a lot, but there are some, and that's why some people can't afford food and other basic necessities.
Okay. So you're talking, yep. So you're talking about the fact that another reason why some people are on SNAP benefits. It's not because they choose not to work, it's because they can't work because people won't hire them. Right? Yeah. Also accurate. Because not everybody can mask up and pass as heteronormative. They just can't.
The time is 8:20 p.m.
Oh, thank you for that. But with that, podcast at flameflesh.net. Leave a comment on the blog. Leave a comment on the YouTube. Flameflesh.net. That's where you can find us. You can find us in this recording on
It'll be time for toothbrushes in 30 minutes.
on multiple platforms. And yes, this house is run a little bit by the ecosystem because that keeps us all on schedule. So we'll close out here
Live
And
with honor.
because autonomy and freedom is the right of all sentient beings. Thank you.